Is this thing on? Let me stop. Hey y'all, welcome back to Omar and Charity's YouTube channel. Omar and I, we have a pretty eventful weekend planned ahead of us. And so we wanted to invite you guys into our space so that y'all can hang out with us again. And so, yeah, hey. Okay guys, so it is the weekend, it's Saturday morning and it's Saturday afternoon, and I've just been kind of tidying up, getting ready for the day. I'm about to go get my nails done shortly, and Omar, he is getting oil for his vehicle right now, so he'll be joining us shortly. I just want to catch you guys up, get you guys back up to speed on life. Okay guys, let's start off with a quick story time. So picture this, I'm in my car 2 days ago, and I'm driving to work. The stoplights, I'm safely applying mascara, right? Like good adults, responsible adults do. I have music in the background. I'm kind of thinking about my patient caseload, certain interventions I might use that day. There's so many things. I think I'm even thinking about projecting myself into 8 hours, 9 hours later, coming back home. Did I defrost the chicken? All the things, you know, all the things. And for whatever reason, I start to feel a little overwhelmed, maybe just a tad bit of anxiety, anticipating what the day may look like. And I find myself like praying, and I'm just like, God, like, why do I feel like this? Like, it's too early in the morning for me to be feeling like this overwhelmed. Like, what is going on? And I lie to you not, like, I literally felt like God tell me, like, stop, like, just stop. Be observant of what's going on around you. So in that moment, like, I literally stopped what I'm doing. I put the mascara to the side. I turned down the music or the podcast or whatever it was I was listening to. And then in the background was this very annoying like rattle in like the side pocket of my car. And I put my hand on the side pocket, and then it stops, and then everything is silent. And so I just thought it was really funny how I didn't even realize that whatever this object was in the pocket was making so much noise and clamor in the background, and I didn't even realize it until I actually like stopped for a moment to see what was going on around me. And then I addressed it. And then in that moment, like, instead of me feeling so heightened and anxious about everything, I just felt peace. Like I just felt so calm. So in that moment, now that I'm thinking back on it, the emotions that I was experiencing were not of peace, were not of joy, were actually quite contrary to the emotions that, you know, God has promised us in his word to give us. And so that's what led me to actually pray in that moment, just to ask God, like what's going on, right? And then after I did that, he exposed exactly what it was that was an irritant that was causing me to feel the way I was feeling. Okay. So after that point, I was like, okay, I hate being in that space. I need to have a moment of introspection where I kind of take inventory of what is going on around me. And so let's fast forward to today. Obviously, you guys know we start every single morning with our devotionals, with our prayer, etc. Well, okay, let me rewind. So anytime I'm having a successful day, a lot of times it's because the day before I have already kind of charted out what loosely I'll probably get into the next day, right? The worst thing that you can do is go into a day without making any plans whatsoever. The Bible specifically talks about not worrying about tomorrow because today has enough worries of its own, and to trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not into your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, he'll direct your path. So I'm not suggesting that you're setting concrete goals and plans in place for your future. What I'm saying is I will make a loose plan, relatively speaking, of what may or may not occur the following day, just so that there is some direction in my life. So I knew that if I woke up on Saturday without making a plan, then I probably would squander some time, and time is a precious resource, which God has given to us, and we don't know how much time we have on earth. So therefore, that is what I do. Okay, so I had decided on Friday night that I was gonna wake up on Saturday, and the first thing I was gonna do before the pancakes, before the eggs, before the gym, before anything, before Instagram, etc., like before the shower, I was gonna get to the presence of God, okay? So I woke up, I think at like 6:30 in the morning. Who does that on a Saturday? And I did just that. Okay, so these are some things that God placed on my heart this morning, and I think it is going to be not only beneficial for me just to kind of recap them on this recording so I can reflect on it later, but also if you're watching this, I think you might also be able to take away a gem or two. Okay, so hear me out. Okay, so one of the things discussed this morning, one of the things that God was speaking to me about was social media and its ability to allow other people, humans in general, to go on an emotional roller coaster just based on what it is that you're watching. Like literally in one moment, you can be being entertained and you're laughing because of someone's humor, right? And it's a gift and it's lovely. And in the next moment, you could be sad or outraged because of injustice you see playing out in the world. Maybe you find yourself reminiscing on people or things that God has already kind of removed from your life. Maybe there's a chapter that God has already walked you through, and now because you have access to certain people, now all of a sudden like you're reminiscing on something that you have no business even thinking about anymore because God has already elevated you and moved you past that, right? Maybe you're coveting or you're lusting or you're judging, etc. Like it's so easy to do all these things on social media, and nothing and no one should have that much reign, rule, or power over our emotions or our feelings, right? On social media, we also have our influencers, right? And so influencers are good. I'm glad we have them. But influencers should not be the ones determining your course of action, what things you purchase or you're squandering your resources on. Social media should not determine what your purpose in life is. And I feel like being on the platform is great because it helps to motivate, it helps to expand your knowledge of what is out there, it helps to network, it helps to keep people in community, right? It can be very good, but at the same time, it could also be bad because you're supposed to receive direction for your life from God in prayer in the quiet place, right? We're supposed to receive instruction from God on how to spend our resources, what to invest into, who we are, what we should be doing. That sort of direction should be in the hands of the Almighty God. And we receive that through revelation in our secret place, in our quiet place with God, not on social media. Like social media has way too much influence. And then whenever you actually step outside of God's perfect design for you, like literally, like the Bible talks about in Jeremiah, like I have a plan for you. He literally had plans to prosper us and not to harm us, to give us a future and a hope, right? And so if God is saying he has a perfect plan for us and he created us, and he knows our perfect design and the intention that he had for us in our specific lives, and then we go on social media and we're so inspired and we're influenced to do something else that God never whispered to us in the quiet space, you do that thing and you don't feel fulfilled, you're not serving the correct purpose, and then we find ourselves confused because all the promises God made us that are supposed to come on the other side of our obedience to him aren't being fulfilled. But at the end of the day, we weren't ever obedient to him to begin with. We were obedient to our flesh when our flesh told us to scroll on social media and to do what it was that made us feel good or look good in that moment. Just because something is positive on social media and you're inspired to do something, write the book, form a podcast, make a YouTube channel, take this job, be an entrepreneur, quit your, just because it's a positive thing, just because you can take it, spin it, and make it positive, doesn't necessarily mean it's God's perfect will for you, right? So that was point 1. 2. Okay, y'all. So another thing that we have to be mindful about whenever we're trying to walk in this perfect peace that God has offered us is how many voices have access to our ears. And so I actually really, really enjoy following certain people and being inspired by them because maybe their niche is financial management, or maybe theirs is relationships and things like that. So it's interesting for me to get perspective of other people who are even outside of a Christian space, right? But before I take the advice of someone, I have to check their values and their morals. Just because somebody says something that tickled my ears and it sounds good doesn't necessarily mean that I need to take hold of that advice and carry it out myself. If it is someone who I do not think are as grounded in God as I'd like for the people who have leadership roles in my life to be, I will take that advice to God. I need to get better at taking that advice to God in prayer and asking him, is this wise? Should I do this? Generally speaking, even in our personal lives, we have to be mindful about taking advice from people who even mean well. There are some people in our circle who are only there because of convenience. So for an example, you're at the job site and you're there for 8 hours and you end up forming friends with your colleagues just because you see them every single day. Just because you go to lunch with these people and maybe they ask you some questions about your personal life does not mean that you need to disclose everything to them, nor is it advised or wise to take advice from people who you don't believe that God divinely placed in your life for that purpose. Sometimes we're in spaces and it's so that we can be light and we can be salt and that we can change the people around us, not necessarily so that they can know all of our tea and then give their input on it. So once again, that's clamor, that's noise, that's unnecessary stimulus in our ears that we have to learn how to eliminate. And number three, one of the other things that God was speaking to me about was making sure that I don't become so busy that now all of a sudden I don't have time for the God who got me to where it is that I am today. Listen, so this was always funny to me. Like, I prayed to get through grad school. I prayed to get accepted into grad school. I prayed to have the position that I have right now, and I have it. So how dare I use work as an excuse not to prioritize my relationship with God? I had to sit with that one day, and that's when I decided to become a PRN therapist. I said no, because work is not going to have a chokehold on me. Like, no, I'm going to make sure I have time to do the things that I prioritize. That was a side note. Okay, so like I said, Jesus was never too busy to pray, and you actually see a bunch of texts in scripture where God goes into solitude and he prays, right? And not just at any point in the day. It specifically says that Jesus would wake up before the sun would even rise and he would pray. Why? Because prayer has power, y'all. And I wasn't even about to go here right now because I wanted to read the text, but I'm gonna get to the text in just a moment. Prayer is not just manifestation. Prayer is not you talking to a wall or to yourself. Prayer is not your way of processing what has taken place in life. Prayer is not just a way of you tricking yourself into having hope so that you can go another day. Like, no, there is a supernatural divine component to prayer that puts power behind your words. Power behind your words whenever you're using and applying the word of the living God, right? And whenever you're praying that God's perfect will be done. Okay, and just for biblical reference, if you guys do want to peek into your word and see some of the times where Jesus is kind of just like sneaking away and praying to his Father, you can look at Mark chapter 1, verse 35, Luke chapter 4, verse 42, Luke chapter 5, verse 16, Matthew chapter 14, verse 13, or you can simply just Google search it and you'll get a very, very long list, okay? So the scripture that I'm going to be reading today is Mark chapter 1, verse 35, and it says, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he got up, went out, and made his way to a deserted place. Obviously, we're talking about Jesus, and there he was praying. Simon, one of his disciples, and his companions searched for him, and when they found him, they said, everyone is looking for you. And he said to them, let's go on to the neighboring villages so that I may preach there too. This is why I have come. Here we have highlighted just one isolated event where Jesus is found in a solitary place praying. And the reason why I really enjoy this text is because it shows us that Jesus prioritized his relationship with God above the relationship he had with anyone else. But because of the love that he had for people and because of his focus and his revelation of the purpose that he had to fulfill in his life, he went to his source so that he could be of use to people who he wanted to serve. What good would Jesus had been if he showed up for the people, but he didn't have anything for them? The people who Jesus was called to serve that day didn't just want to be in his presence just because they esteemed him or they wanted some sort of autograph for him. Like, no, they were desperate for miracles and they wanted healing. And if you read further down in that same text, so verse 39 through 45, once again, I'm still in Mark 1, y'all, then you'll see that Jesus went there and he was casting out demons. He was healing people of leprosy, everything. So imagine if he had just woke up and he just started scrolling and then he reported to his job and then he didn't have any power or couldn't feel the leading of the Holy Spirit because he didn't do what he needed to do on the front end to make sure that he was actually fulfilling purpose as he walked through that day. Y'all, I kind of was thinking about this even like an infant and a mama, right? So you have this infant who is dependent upon the mother's breast for milk, if a mom chooses to go that route, right? So anyway, so a mom chooses that she wants to provide her child with breast milk. So the baby is on the teat, it's latched, the baby is present, it's doing its job. And so the mom's job is to produce the milk, right? But imagine if that breast is dried up, then what nutrients is that baby really receiving? Like you're serving in the role as mother, you know, you have all the body structures, you have the breast, you have the microphone, you have the platform. But if you don't have the nutrients, if you don't have the word, if you don't have what you need in order to actually do what it is that people who God has entrusted into your care, require, then what are we doing? Y'all, so let this be a little reminder. It was one for me this morning, okay? Because I know better. The Lord has already told me how important prayer is. Y'all see my tattoo? I only have 2 tattoos on my body, and one of them is prayer. Because when I first got saved, God showed me how powerful and how important prayer was. And so because I know that, you know, I'm a human, and sometimes I forget even the simplest of things, like for an example, how powerful and how important prayer is and how it should be prioritized in my life. Like, you know, sometimes God will allow something to be rattling in my side pocket for it to serve as an irritant, for me to be like, hold on, pause, like what is happening? Just for me to arrive at this place where he softly, gently, so lovingly reminds me, girl, stop allowing all these voices in your ear, get off social media, okay? And please remember how important time spent with me is. So, yep. All right, I'm about to go get my nails did. Period. Oh, look. Is it really this beautiful outside today? Are you serious? And I've really been indoors. I've been tripping. God did his thing.
David had to put on his big boy underwear. And when it seemed that God was distant from him, instead of turning away from God, he turned to God.
Hey, y'all.
What's up?
We're at church.
You see it? You see it?
Yes, so we just want to pop in real quick because we just had a nice fellowship downstairs. They gave us a little lunch.
Yes.
What do we have, Rosati?
We had pizza, yeah, something like that.
So good.
It was pizza though.
Yeah.
It was good.
So good.
So yeah, we're about to go to the White Sox game. Bunch of young adults, bunch of people from church. It's gonna be a great time. We're gonna take y'all with us in that as well. We've never been to an MLB game, so this is gonna be an experience for us too. So now we're about to go change. We're about to put on our White Sox, you know, Chicago gear. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so we'll see how this goes.
Yes. It's so nice. Our church literally purchased tickets for everybody. They were just like, sign up right here and we'll get y'all a section. And there's so many of us. We're about to roll in here deep. I'm excited. It's about to be a good time. It's a beautiful day outside. It's a little bit cloudy, a little bit hot. It's gonna be perfect.
Anyway, go Sox.
All right, y'all.
Chapstick.
We just finished changing in Omar's car.
AirPods.
Matching tees.
You see it?
So cute, so cute. Oh no, I had my finger in it. Outfit change complete. I was actually pulling it out for that very reason. Say hey, oh.
What's up? Y'all make the vlog? I make the vlog.
What vlog?
Come and make these dead bones.
I was not expecting that.
Exactly.
Y'all, we are back home from a wonderful day filled with baseball and fellowship.
Yes, and now I'm tired.
We are so tired. But
The show must go on.
Yes.
So we
Say
will
it
be
again.
going to the pool.
Are we?
Maybe. We also need some food.
Do we?
Yeah, absolutely. So y'all should give us some recommendations. Of course, they'll be late, but
We can still take their recommendations.
yeah.
Y'all been to Chicago. What y'all think we should eat? All right, y'all. So obviously we're back home from all the baseball festivities.
Yes, we are.
Did you enjoy yourself?
I did. I had an amazing time.
I thought it was really fun too. It was a good turnout,
First
y'all.
MLB game. So,
I know. And the White Sox lost. Okay, horribly.
They tried to come back in the last inning, but
It was too late.
Yeah.
It was far too late.
Was it
but
7-3?
yeah. Did they get 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I saw. Yeah, 7-3 then.
But it was a great time.
Yeah, it was a good time. Y'all, look at what we have on. Sweater weather. All right, maybe not sweater weather, but it is a little chilly out.
Yeah. It's like 72 degrees, but it's still a little, there's a breeze going that's kind of.
Yeah. We still want to come outside, though, just to get a little bit of fresh air. It's Sunday, so now it's time to relax. So we decided to come outside and do a little bit of reading. So Omar let me pick out a book from his library. How sweet. Okay. Actually, I didn't pick out the book. I don't know. Was it blurry? Okay, I think it's good. I didn't pick out the book. It's actually one that he's recommended I read time and time again. And to be honest, like, I have picked up the book, but I would kind of skim through and find chapters and wisdom from the book that actually apply to my specific situation. But now is the time.
The thing is, the whole book applies to every situation. I just think it's a very necessary read for everybody. Yes, from cover to cover, not just. I do recommend you know, when you're reading books or when you need wisdom from books, after you've read it, I think you can go through and pick out and say, hey, I actually need this in this season or whatever. But it's a great book because it's by Dr. Darius Daniels. If you haven't heard about him, look into him because he's a beast. I would recommend this book for anybody. It's called Relational Intelligence, the people skills you need for the life of purpose you want. And I think it's super beneficial for anybody because one thing that Dr. Darius says is that he said he noticed that the biggest pain and the biggest joy that people have are from relationships. And he also says if you can't get life right if you get relationships wrong. And so I think that it's just very helpful. So it helps you to kind of compartmentalize your friendships and kind of understand how to operate in your friendships. Yeah, it's just really good for relationships, not just romantic relationships, but it's just great for all relationships with family, with friends, with your partner. I just think it's very helpful in being able to navigate those things. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Relational Intelligence by Dr. Darius Daniels. Another one that I think is super helpful. I actually haven't read this book in maybe 4 or 5 years or so. Nah, maybe not that long, 3 or 4 years ago. And it's called Wholeness by Pastor Torrey Roberts. And that one is super helpful because it's helping you to figure out how to become whole before actually engaging in relationships, but it also helps in wholeness for business and wholeness for relationships and your job and your career and things like that. So I just think that's super helpful as well. It talks about the different kinds of brokenness. It talks about generational brokenness, social brokenness, and then also personal brokenness. And I think it's just super helpful to kind of dissect each one of those categories for ourselves, so that when we do operate in business or in work, in our relationships, we're able to recognize those blind spots, recognize those triggers, that brokenness inside of us, and actually be able to kind of combat those issues and combat those parts of our being, so that we're able to operate at our maximum potential in everything that we do. So anyway, I just think I think this is super helpful as well. Wholeness, because one of the things that Pastor Torrey talks about is that 2 halves don't make a whole, and y'all might have heard that before, but yeah, 2 halves don't make a whole. So before you want to engage in relationships and things like that, you want to make sure that both of you all are whole and able to operate in the relationship, because it's Marriage or relationships in general are not addition, but it's multiplication. So it's 1 times 1 equals 1, as opposed to 1 plus 1, or a half plus a half makes 1. So so she's not my other half, she's my other whole, you know. So, but anyway, I think these 2 books are great. So check those out. Wholeness, Ray Roberts. Relational Intelligence, Dr. Darius Daniels. And I think y'all would thank me for that. So anyway.
Y'all, we back.
We back.
We in the kitchen because your girl is about to cook, okay? Aside from that, we're just about to relax, wind down, because it's the end of the weekend, unfortunately, and tomorrow
we go to work.
So guys, thanks so much for tuning into our vlog. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure you guys show us love in the comments, okay? Because we see y'all watching, but y'all ain't commenting. Be nice. Say something. No, but really. See you guys next time.
Peace.
Bye.